I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support. Hello. Good morning. Good evening. Good day. Good afternoon. And aloha. Welcome back to another episode, live episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name is Luis Jimenez, creator and host of the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. I see all of you in the chat. Michael Hill, Akashi Chris, Alien Hunter, or J. Allen Heineken. God, that's such a great name. Matthew Riot, James Doyle, what is going on, you guys? Thank you so much for being here. Debunk, Max Alt. It's going to be a fun show, you guys. I hope you are ready to get nose deep into the woo. This is going to be a fun episode. But before we do that, got to pay some bills, of course. As always, want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in this, or SoundCloud link is in the description below. So go check out their SoundCloud link below. It's free. You go listen to their tunes for free. Of course, this show will be available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. You can listen to us on the road, wherever you're at in the world. We got listeners from so many different countries. It's insane. Maybe one day we'll look at it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so please leave us a rate and review. It goes a very long way, making sure the podcast continues to grow. Of course, we've got our Patreon, as you saw our commercial at the beginning of the show. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support this show. Yes, you can be a producer of this show for as little as $1 a month. You can help produce this show at least, I don't know, it changes all the time, 3 to 5 days a week, depending on what's going on. So thank you so much. And if you don't have any dollars to support through super chats or any other means, don't sweat it. There is no paywall here at the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Everything is free. You can enjoy it whenever you want. Go back and check our archive over 300 episodes. So go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And of course, I want to say thank you to the moderators of the chat, Aaron Desario, Tina Tomaszewski, the lady that is quick with all of the links. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here as always. We've got links, speaking of, to the merch store down below. All of our hosts, co-hosts, guests, videos that we play online, all of those links are in the description below. So if you're curious about anything that you see on the show, please go check them out, support it however you can. And last but not least, of course, I want to say thank you to kgradb.com. So let's bring on our co-host, shall we? Mr. Rather Be Squidding, Miss Jane Kyle, UFO Jane. How you doing, guys?
How were all of your Valentine's days?
Great. Yeah, we didn't have a show Monday.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting today's Wednesday. I was just about to ask how your weekends were.
I don't even remember what. Oh, it was the Super Bowl. That's right.
Valentine's Day was the day after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it weekend was. I had a blank, and then I realized, oh, it's a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty good.
Yeah. Did Glurp do anything romantic?
We're not very sentimental.
Okay.
We never really have been. You know what? When you become a parent, it's all about like the kid and
what they got for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And what you have to buy them for their Valentine's.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So it was a fun family day.
All right. Well, that's good. Rather, what about you? I know you were feeling under the weather, but how were you feeling on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, I was pretty much recovered. Had a nice day.
Were you up for love?
Always up for love, Lou. How about you? How was you and Michelle's special day?
It was great. Yeah, we cooked a nice, ribeye dinner and just hung out. Yeah, it was good. Got her some flowers and her favorite chocolates, and was trying to get like She Loves Ube, but this Ube store that I had found was closed on Valentine's Day. I was like, all right. And yeah,
Gotta have a plan B.
Just took it easy that night. Yeah, I just didn't want to. I felt it was like would have been rude if I'd done a show Valentine's Day night. All right, here are your flowers. Here's your chocolate. Later. And I figured, Jane has a husband. And she's got kids. I'm sure Valentine's Day she had plans as well. So, well, we're happy to be here.
It was a nice break, but yeah, it's good to be back.
Good to be back. All right, so are you guys ready for our guest today?
Yeah.
Good.
Do it.
Excellent. Let's do it. All right, so John Russell, professional psychic for over 50 years. He is a psychic and mind reader, medium, certified tarot master, and paranormal investigator, and now a published author. He has provided psychic readings for clients in over 40 countries, internationally known. For over 15 years, he has been a popular featured guest, heard worldwide on many radio shows and podcasts, including the world famous Coast to Coast AM, and now the Unidentified Celebrity Rue, which probably is way more famous than Coast to Coast AM, I'm assuming. way more viewers in this on this channel, right, John?
Absolutely. It's great to be here, guys. How's everybody doing?
Oh,
doing well.
Doing well.
Good.
How are you, sir? It's been a while.
Well, thank you. I had a few health scares here a little while back, but thankfully recovered from those with no ill effect and trucking on.
You look good.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank
you look
you.
Healthy.
Not bad for a 68-year-old goomer.
Hey, man. Not bad at all. I pray to get that old. I'll be lucky if I make it that far.
Let me tell you, it's rough when you get here. Just be prepared. It's rough when you get here.
Yeah. So I know we've talked on the Singularity, and that was a fun conversation. One of Mike's first episodes.
Right.
And so it's been, I can't even remember where we left off. So I guess since this is your first time here on this channel, if you can give people sort of a quick, rundown, who is John Russell?
Sure. Well, I developed my psychic gift around the age of 5, between 5 and 6. As I grew up, I experienced literal physical paranormal phenomena, not things that I dreamed or meditated or envisioned or hallucinated. These were things that actually occurred on the physical realm and were witnessed by many other people. And that led me to a deep interaction with the other side, so that I became closer and closer to the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm taught me what's real, what isn't, what works, what doesn't. And my psychic abilities began to develop around the age of 6. And then I began to read for friends and family around the age of between 12 and 15. And at age 18, I started reading professionally. And so now I've been reading professionally for 50 years. And then I got a couple of books out, got a third one in the works I'm still working on. Became a paranormal investigator around the age of 12 because I was so interested in what was real, what wasn't, what worked, what didn't. And I became aware that there were a lot of people in the religious realm, the spiritual realm, so on and so forth, that were liars, that were self-deluded, that misled others, that didn't have the information they thought they had. There was just a whole lot wrong out there. And so that became my passion at around age 12. I became aware of all these discrepancies and all this stuff that just didn't work, the status quo, and some of it outright lies and outright deceit. And it became my passion around the age 12 to say, hey, let's go out here and put a big stick in the middle of these spokes and see how many of these things I can knock out and expose this stuff. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I find it fascinating that you knew at 6 years old that you had this gift.
Yeah, it's and the way that I learned that, just for people that might not have heard the story before, I was about 5 years old. I was asleep in bed, and I guess about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I woke up just absolutely wide awake, no grogginess, nothing. I was just totally awake, and I was like, well, that's weird. And I thought, well, maybe a noise woke me up. So I just kind of laid there and listened a little bit. Everything was quiet. So I raised up, there was a night light down the hallway from my bedroom. So if I need to get up, go to the bathroom at night, I could see. And I I raised up on my elbows in bed and just kind of looked around, and it's like, what in the world's going on? And as I looked out my bedroom door and looked down the hallway, there was this elderly black gentleman peering around the door frame into the hallway and into my bedroom, staring at me. And I screamed bloody murder because I'm 5 years old. I'm scared to death. I think we've got an intruder in the home. We didn't have anybody living with us. Certainly didn't have anyone black living with us. And after I screamed, the elderly black gentleman, I knew he was elderly because he had close cropped white hair. He had a white mustache, had on a red flannel shirt, had on khaki pants, black belt, black shoes. And he was every bit as solid as you or I. Wasn't translucent, wasn't transparent, wasn't misty. He was solid. He was a human being in the flesh. And he walked around the corner after I screamed and started walking down the hallway toward my bedroom, toward me, toward my bed. Had eyes locked on mine, never looked away. And I screamed bloody murder again at the top of my lungs. Lights came on the house. My parents started coming running. And when that happened, he began to disappear, starting at his feet and going up, and he vanished. And even though he vanished, I was convinced there was still somebody in the house. And I told my parents, I said, somebody's here. And I was crying and screaming, and my mother was holding me and trying to console me. And my father literally went and looked under the beds, in the closets, checked every door, checked every window. That's how real my what I presented to them was, the fright I presented to them. And they finally tried to convince me, no, you just had a nightmare. It was something you saw on TV, and just go back to sleep. And I was like, no, there was someone here. And then it dawned on me, I had seen my first ghost. And so after that, in a matter of a few weeks, these paranormal events began to occur on the physical realm. And other people would witness them or be privy to them as well. And it dawned on me that that gentleman came to open up that portal to the other side for me, and that I would figure out why that occurred down the road. And then shortly after that, my psychic gift began to develop, and I learned that I could tell people's futures. I could tell what was going to happen to them. I could predict their futures accurately. I could see inside their thoughts, their emotions. I knew what had happened in their past. And so that's what started me on this journey.
Did your parents ever suggest that this could be an imaginary friend? Do you think that this could be linked to the whole idea, the whole phenomenon of imaginary friends and little kids?
Yeah, absolutely not, because the things that occurred on the physical realm, and they were witnessed by other people. These weren't things that I went and told them, oh, this happened or that happened. These were things that were happening around me and in the house and in the yard and even at school that other people witnessed as well. So there was no way to write it off to imagination, because when something literally moves physically and there's no agency there to move it and other people see that, okay, there's no imaginary friend involved.
I guess, and let me ask this a different way, because of an experience with my child who had an experience of seeing, I think it was younger than 6, you know, but had, I guess, what would be like an imaginary experience or imaginary friend kind of experience, but was absolutely adamant that this was a real, this was different than anything else. You know, I know my kid, he was not, he was being completely honest. And when I asked to meet this imaginary friend, he stopped talking about it. This friend at this point, and there were some other spooky elements of it. We don't talk, so we don't bring it up in our house. So I'm just, wondering how are, so I've wondered, could the imaginary friends, maybe they're not as imaginary as we think they are.
That's the case most of the time, because kids are inherently more receptive to the spiritual realm and to interacting with the spiritual realm and able to see things in the spiritual realm that adults can't. Now, the reason for that is by the time we become teenagers, most of the time, if you go to your parents and they say, who were you talking with? Oh, well, I have this little friend named Kathy that comes and visits me, and we play on the floor. Oh, that's real sweet. That's real nice. Yeah. And that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is the parent goes, that's a bunch of ignorant nonsense. Don't say that. Don't lie. That's stupid. You don't have an invisible friend. There's no such thing. So when those things begin to happen as we grow up, and as we encounter that resistance, we encounter that rejection, we begin to turn off our sensors and we begin to pull back from that spiritual realm, from that invisible realm. And we begin to deny that we've had any experiences then. And by the time we've become adults, we've shut it down. Anything that happens, we ignore. And if we try and open up that again, it can be very difficult to get back to that spiritual perception. But I'm firmly convinced that a lot of kids have that insight into the spiritual realm, that they actually see into the spiritual realm. And it is a real thing, not an imaginary thing. And that as we become older, it's beaten out of us.
Jen, I kind of have to swap spots here for a second and put you on the main screen, because now I've got questions for you. So let me ask you, why did you stop talking about this? Why didn't you press it?
Initially it's just, okay, this is an imaginary friend thing. Just kind of ask questions, about it. And he would have these say, and I'd be like, well, where are you meeting this person? Where aren't they? And sometimes that would get vague when I would try to meet this person or talk to this person. And at one point he said that he really described it in vivid detail, having this figure had red hair, and at one point was telling him this. He acted it out like any kid would. I died. And so when I'm hearing my kid talk about this friend of his that I can't see, it's invisible, it's talking about having died, I just got freaked. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, I got to meet this. I got to meet all your friends. I got to know, who you're hanging out with. So I want to meet this. You can't hang out with them anymore if you can't say hi to me and come meet me. And so at that point, the story stopped. And I will say my kid's kind of an interesting kid, more than I think I was at his age. So I've learned a lot through him, John, through my child, I feel like. And so I'm curious, like, from your parents' perspective, did they shut it down for you? Like, why were you able to keep pursuing that?
Well, because by age 12, you were out to expose frauds.
Yeah, I was out for blood. No, the great thing about my parents, Jane, was that on my mother's side, we had a long legacy of experiences with the psychic realm and paranormal events. So my mother was a believer, and she had experienced things on her side of the family going way back. Nearly everybody had these literal physical experiences. And so I was encouraged. She explained what was happening to me the best that she could. And then I did everything in my power to study everything I could find to enhance my abilities, to find out what was going on, so on and so forth. Now, my father, who was actually my stepfather, my father, on the other hand, he was scared to death of the paranormal realm. Now, he was not a scary guy. He was a burly, tough, barroom brawling stock farmer. He was a stock farmer. He worked cattle. He had horses. He bought a bar eventually, and he was the bouncer for the bar. He kept a blackjack behind the bar, and he used it. So he was a tough old guy, and he wasn't afraid of anything, but he was afraid of the paranormal because he couldn't grab it. He couldn't fight it. He couldn't control it. He couldn't manipulate it. He couldn't handle it. It manipulated him. And so it scared him to death. And he tried to totally disavow it. And one of the things we had, one of the physical manifestations of phenomena that we had when I was growing up at my house, which continued into my adulthood and haunted the dinner parties that we had there as well, was the very loud, prolonged sound of footsteps walking. And outside, my parents had poured concrete sidewalks around the perimeter of the house. And you would hear these, like somebody in high heels, clip, 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 really loud, walking at a fast pace around the house on the sidewalk. And the very first time that I heard it, I thought that my mother had come out. My mother wore high heel shoes. And I thought my mom had come out and was walking on the sidewalk. So, me being the little brat that I am, I was sitting there waiting at the corner of the house. And when she come around the corner of the house, I was going to jump up and scare her. So the footsteps get closer and louder and closer and louder, and they get right by the corner of the house. And I jumped out and and not a soul's there in the flesh. And I'm like, holy cow. So these type things started manifesting, and we would be outside working in the yard. and my dad would be there, my mom would be there, and we would all hear these footsteps. Now, even the animals reacted to them. We had a little dog and cat, and the dog would hear the footsteps and run for the back door and whine to be let in, wouldn't come back outside. And so my dad would hear these footsteps on the sidewalk and throw down his tool and go looking for whoever it was. And of course, they would stop and there was no one there. And one time he went around the entire house, went inside the house, outside the house, looking for the source of those footsteps. And when we would tell him it was the other side, it was the spirits coming to visit, he'd be like, I don't want to hear this. And he'd move off to another part of the yard. But that, you know, those types of things happen continuously. And me and my mother accepted it. My father disavowed it. He ran from it. It scared him to death. He didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Bradley,
I'm curious, when you have these kind of psychic insights, are they typically physical manifestations, or are they mostly kind of, you know, mental, you know, thoughts jump in your head kind of thing? I guess, well, you know, how often are they physical versus mental?
When I do my readings, that's all internal. And the paranormal experiences, for the most part, are literally in the physical realm. And I mean, like we've captured these things on film, we've videotaped them, we've audio recorded them. You know, I shot a TV pilot for the History Channel, and we caught it on film. And other people were there and witnessed it. And that's one thing I want to get across to people too. You know, people make fun of the paranormal. They make fun of UFOs. They make fun of this. They make fun of that. Well, there's no proof. There's no proof. There's no evidence. There is so much credible, good physical proof of psychic phenomena and paranormal phenomena out there. If you're willing to look and investigate, there's tons of reliable, credible proof out there that it exists. Just like there is with UFOs. If you're willing to open up your mind, investigate, there's tons of credible evidence that UFOs exist, and that they visited the Earth. The late Stanton Friedman used to say that there was, to paraphrase him, that there was an embarrassment of riches of physical proof that UFOs exist. So all of these things are out there. And like I say, for me, for the paranormal events, they mostly occur physically. And then for the psychic input, like when I'm doing readings for my clients, most of the time that's an internal thing. And occasionally there is physical phenomena that manifest along with that, either for myself, my client, or both.
Let me ask you, what, in your opinion, is the best physical evidence to support the idea that this paranormal phenomenon, as far as ghosts and psychic readings is concerned? What you said, there's a lot of physical evidence out there. What's the best? What would be the first thing you'd point people to say you need to look at that or read about that or research that?
Stanford Research Institute.
Okay.
You know, Stanford Research Institute. And there are parallels to Stanford Research Institute all across the world. And there's been a lot of things done, a lot of things documented and proven. And then look at our government's remote viewing programs. You know, there's more than ample evidence right there from our own government that this stuff works. You know, they did it. And there's, you can find documentaries, you can find films, you can find all kinds of stuff out there, interviews with people that were in the government remote viewing program and people that were in Congress and were in the military and science and so on and so forth, that said, yeah, it worked. We absolutely did it. I have a friend of mine that was at Stanford. He wasn't at the Research Institute, but he was at Stanford when the Research Institute was formed. And he became friends with some of the people that were involved there. And he knew Targ and Pudolf and Geller and everybody out there that was involved in that. And he was telling me some of the phenomenal things that these people did in the physical realm, utilizing this stuff, and we're able to prove it, we're able to demonstrate it, we're able to replicate it, as well as were others. And it was just mind-blowing. It was just incredible. So there's plenty of evidence out there that this is real and that it exists. I think the problem that people run into is like, Anjali, the lady that was, I met the aliens and they're going to reveal themselves in 2 months. Why is it always 2 months? They're going to reveal themselves in 2 months, and it's going to be a big national thing and all this and all that. And then, we can't do it. This happened, that happened, whatever. There's so much idiocy out there. There's so much nonsense out there that people begin to encounter that and run into that, and it puts them off any type of serious investigation. So if you're kind of curious and you say, well, hey, our government has admitted that these are physical objects, that they're real, that they're here, that they're not ours. This is kind of interesting. I'd like to learn more about that. And then you encounter one of these kooks, more than likely you think, well, there must not be anything to this thing or whatever. So that's why I'm so hard on all these people in the paranormal realm, psychic realm, UFO investigators and everything else that get off into this nonsense, is because, look, we're trying to research a very serious subject here and find out everything that we can about it so that we can apply that to our lives, to better our lives and to help other people. I've been an instrument for healing. I've healed other people. I've experienced healing. I guide people's lives through my psychic readings. I've had guardian angels literally, physically intervene and save my life. So these are the types of things that are available to us, that if we'll take the time to learn how better to interact with that realm, look at the good that can come to us, and then what can we translate to others? How can we give that good to others and help other people as well?
Okay, so then let me stop you right there, just because the things you just claim to happen, those are really big claims.
Yes.
Healing,
yes.
Personal angels. So then when you were 12 years old, what were the things, and today even, what are the things that you consider work of charlatans?
When you start guaranteeing people that you can bring back a broken relationship, romantic relationship, when you guarantee people you can heal them, when you guarantee people you can reverse their bad luck, all those types of things, that's absolutely total, complete charlatan and frauds. And there's tons of them out there, and they're easy to spot. And it always, like, I'll give you one example. When we lived in New York, my wife's a New York native, and I moved up to New York to be with her. And we were in Manhattan a lot for her business. And we would walk down the streets of Manhattan, and in these expensive brownstones, there would be signs in the window, special reading, $10. And she asked me one day, she said, I know what your expenses are for your business, and I know the taxes that you have to pay, and I know your marketing and advertising expenses and everything else. And I know what you make for a reading and how little of it you actually put in your pocket. And she says, how do these people living in brownstones in Manhattan, how can they afford to only charge $10 for a reading? And I said, well, they don't. It's the $10 special reading, and that gets you in the door. And for $10, oh my God, you've been feeling a little bad lately? And if you're rather, and you've been sick, you say, well, yeah, I've been a little under the weather. Little bad luck around you lately? Well, yeah, the tire was flat this morning when I got up to go to work. And yeah, I don't want to scare you, but I'm seeing evil around you. I'm seeing mischief around you. And there may be someone that's cast a spell on you. There may be evil spirits. Oh my God. Well, what do I do? Well, let's make another appointment, and let me study on this and figure out what's happening, and you come back. So you come back. There's a jillion variations, and sometimes it involves the manipulation of physical magic like stage performers do, sometimes not. These people are confidence people, con artists, because they know how to gain your confidence. They know how to read you. They know what you'll respond to. And so it may be that, okay, you've come back for the next thing, and well, sit down. And I've done a lot of praying about this. I've contacted the spirits. They've told me there's evil around you. And look, here's this bowl of eggs on the table, and I use this to detect evil and divination. You pick an egg out of this bowl, and we're going to crack it open and see what comes out. So you pick an egg out of that bowl, anyone you want to. And they crack it open, and this black filth and this fuzz and this mold and this yuck comes out of the egg and the yolk and in the white, and it's just gross and disgusting. Oh my God, look, this is the evil that's around you. This is a sign that you're cursed, that you have this evil. We got to get rid of this. Well, it's a magic trick. You go to any good magic shop and they'll say you the means to do that. But if you're not initiated to that, it looks like a miracle. It looks like something paranormal has happened. Well, what do I do? Well, I'll consult with the spirits. And so it's always the spirits need the money. I don't need the money, but the spirits need $5,000. Well, what does spirits need $5,000? Well, I got to make a feast. I got to buy booze. I got to buy fruits and vegetables and then set out a feast for the spirits to eat and gather energy off of, and da-da-da, and blah this and blah that, and special candles and stuff. Well, okay. Now, you say, that sounds really stupid, and nobody in their right mind would fall for that. I have had clients come to me over the years that had multiple college degrees, owned their own businesses, had genius IQs, and they were, John, I'm 50 grand into one of these fuckers. And it's like, help me. What happened? What went wrong? So usually the better educated you are, the easier it is for one of these guys to get their hooks in you and to con you. So that's one of the things you look for. You look for these types of things where people are saying you've got, evil around you and I can remove it, but it's going to cost some money. But it's not for me, it's for the spirits. So you look for those types of things. You look for guaranteed results. You look for, and listen, I have experienced this, done this since I was 5, 6 years old. And my life's prayer, and still to this day, now coming up on 68 years old, my life's prayer to the spirit realm is, God, please, please, please help me to understand better, to make this work better, to help more people, to help it be more consistent. And it's not. And here's how you spot, another way you spot a phony. If it works every single time they do it, they're a fake, because the paranormal realm, the psychic realm does not accommodate you that way. I guarantee you it does not. So that's another way to figure it out. Well, what's the harm in these people? The amount of money they built people out of, the emotional stress and strain they cause, the mental stress and strain they cause. We saw a documentary, I think it was on maybe 48 hours, 60 minutes, something. And the Attorney General of New York was talking about all these phony psychics in New York City. And the average phony psychic raked in anywhere between $250,000 and $500,000 a year that they know of. That was what they could account for, basically. And it's probably more than that. And so they were saying, look.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were saying, why don't you go after these people? Why don't you prosecute these people? Well, number one, they've never used their real names. So we don't know who the heck we are. We don't know who we're looking for. And as soon as they get wind of something about to happen, they're up and gone and they're somewhere else. So they're extremely hard to find, extremely hard to get a hold of and prosecute, pin down. And he said, the black and white reality is, I'm looking at your case where you've been defrauded by this phony psychic, and across my desk comes a serial killer case that's just opened up. Guess what? Your phony psychic goes on the back burner. And so that's a lot of what goes on. So it's a field that's rife with fraud and phonies, just like religion is. You look at all the big multimillionaire televangelists, and every single one of them suckers is a phony. And there's so many ways to fake this, to manipulate this, to prey on people's feelings. It came to light. Here's another thing. It's so easy to research, but most people just won't dig into it. But if you dig into it, it's all out there. One thing that came to light when I was researching things was like the televangelists, like Oral Roberts, for example, would send out these 8, 10, 12-page fundraising letters. And I found out that Oral Roberts, Billy Graham, all these other big name evangelists, they hired copywriters, professional copywriters, to write their appeal letters. And some of them even use the same professional copywriting firm. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a hustle. It's a scam. And then you look at Oral Roberts, and Oral Roberts was like, a 700-foot Jesus appeared to me, told me he was going to kill me and take me home if I didn't raise $1 million for the university or this and the other. This is all documented. This is all public. This all happened. And these guys built people out of millions and millions of dollars. Jim Baker was convicted, sent to prison. People kept donating money to him, trying to send him money when he was in prison. It's like, don't people learn? So in all of this, there is so much fraudulent stuff going on. And, that's what puts people off of this to begin with. And then somebody that is kind of interested or maybe needs that help or needs that input, it's hard for them to find it, hard for them to find the legitimate thing.
Could some of these charlatans actually be psychic, though? Could that ability actually just empower them? Any evil intention they have? I mean,
I've never met a charlatan that was legitimately psychic. I
oh,
haven't yet. And all the investigations that I've
that's
done
comforting.
and everything that I've read and that I know of, the documentaries that I've seen, everything else, the investigations that I've seen others do, I have never seen one yet that's legitimate. Not a one.
What would be something that would kind of prove to you that someone is a legitimate psychic?
Well, for example, like what I do for my clients, over the years, my clients have told me that my predictions, my accuracy of my predictions and my insights are 80 to 90%. I'd say that's a pretty good indicator. If you can, I tell people, if you go to a psychic, find someone that is, that you jive with, that you have a rapport with, and then keep track of what they tell you. I tell all my clients, I say, write the predictions down. You may not believe them now, but write them down, refer back to them, keep them. And that's one way that you know that somebody's legitimate, if what they're telling you happens, if the predictions they make come true, if the insights into your lives, your past and what's going on right now are accurate for you. It's like over and over and over again, all the clients I'm reading for still to this day are telling me, John, everything you told me is spot on. And so that's how you know. So if somebody is telling you things that are true and verifiable, like I'm seeing, like I just had this client yesterday, and I told him everything about his family, about his mother, his father, his brothers, how they were, what they were into, what their hot buttons were, what they liked, what their personalities were like, everything else. And he said I was 100% accurate on all of that. So that's what you look for. If somebody's telling you that, and it's like, yeah, that's right. And then you look at the predictions that the person makes and write those down, refer back to them. And if they happen, you say, yeah, that's a real deal.
How often do you hit on them?
How often do I hit?
Yeah, how accurate are you, I guess, is the question.
My clients tell me 80 to 90%.
100 clients.
Yeah, my clients tell me 80 to 90% accurate.
So 80 to 90% of your clients are happy with your predictions? Or not happy,
clients,
but...
All of my clients agree that I'm 80 to 90% accurate in my predictions.
Got it.
Yeah. And so, and I always tell people, I say, look, let's assume that I'm 90%. Let's take the high number. That's 1 out of 10 I miss. And a big one can fall through the cracks in that one that I miss. Nobody's God, nobody's perfect. And so that's something that everybody else has to realize too. We all can, I think there's fail safes in place in the spiritual realm to prevent just such a thing. If I was 100% accurate all the time, imagine the potential for abuse for that. Okay. And if we could easily access the other side and just instantly gain access to these spirits or these energies or these powers that we wanted to without any firewalls or fail safes there, imagine the potential for abuse there. Because look, if it was super easy to contact the other side and develop kinetic power, psychokinetic power, you could influence, move things, stop people's hearts, whatever. If you could access that virtually instantly and do it easily and do it at will, here's the problem. We're all assholes. Because the first time somebody cuts us off in traffic, you son of a bitch, bam, and you kill them with your psychokinetic power, okay?
Right.
So I literally believe that there are fail safes in place, firewalls, if you will, on the other side, so that we just don't easily connect with that and do whatever we want to do with it. And in my experience, it's something that takes a lot of work, a lot of training. Even if you have a gift for it, It takes a tremendous amount of work and training. And that's why I get so pissed off at people that they buy a tarot deck, they read a book, and they go, I'm a reader. No, you're not. I spent years in training before I became professional. I started reading around 12, spent 6 years in training and reading for people before I started doing it professionally. And nobody masters anything. I haven't mastered it. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And so it's something that you really have to dedicate yourself, put your life into, put your dedication into. It takes a lot of work.
Rather, what do you got? We'll go to you, and then we'll ask some questions from the audience here.
Well, I'm curious how you'd respond to, the notion that maybe this isn't actually psychic phenomenon, but maybe you're just a really great people reader and you have, really great intuition, and maybe even subconsciously, without even realizing it, you're picking up on a lot of different cues that these people are giving off and able to make really great, accurate predictions. But it's, a physical thing that you're seeing in the moment and not an actual psychic phenomenon. Is
good question. I do all my readings by phone, so I have no visual cues. And the predictions I make are nothing that the client has imparted to me or hinted at or given to me or whatever. A lot of the times the predictions I make are contrary to what they want to hear, and they will disagree with them vehemently. And the way that I know the rest of the things are not good guessing or good people reading skills or whatever, is that if I can describe a man's family to a T, all their traits, all their things that they loved and were involved in, and they can verify that, that's not good people reading. If I'm reading for a client and I said, in your house, you've got these 2 wingback chairs by this fireplace, and you walk over there across that, and there's a stairway that leads upstairs. And on the stairway, there's this mist that you periodically see, and this, that, and the other. And I go, yeah, that's right. So if I can accurately describe the inside of someone's house while I'm on the phone with them, and they can verify that, that's not good people reading. That's not good guessing. That goes way beyond that. If I can describe where people have been in the past, if I can describe the things that they've been doing, those types of things, that's not good people reading. You can't do good people reading and get that.
Can you tell me what room is right over here?
No.
Fair enough.
It's like what I always do when people try and do that on the moment. They go, "What color am I thinking of?" I go, 9. 9. Or if they go, "What number am I thinking of?" I go, orange.
So you don't. So you only do it on the phone. You've never ever given a reading face to face, or
I've given a lot of
or over like a Zoom call like this, so to speak.
I've given a lot of readings face to face. In the early days, I did a lot of readings in person, a lot of readings face to face, and the great thing about those was that when I was reading with a client face to face, a lot of times there'd be paranormal manifestations that would occur while I was doing the reading. And when I began to read more by phone, and now I read exclusively by phone, it was really neat to find out that those paranormal manifestations would continue to occur a lot of times in the client's home while they're on the phone with me. They would have things move, or they would have noises, they would have things slam. And one of the most bizarre paranormal experiences that occurs, and a lot of my clients have told me this, they said, "John, before you were they said, you have a real distinctive voice." I've been told this a lot of times. And they said, "I heard out loud, not in my head, audibly in my house, your voice going, 'Hi, so-and-so, we're doing your reading soon,' before you called for my reading this morning." And I've had a lot of clients tell me that. So there's a lot of neat paranormal manifestations that happen for my clients as well, that take it outside the realm of imagination or whatever.
We've got a couple of comments from the crowd that we'll get to you, Jane. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Nathan to see here says, one of the best
things
I saw was at my local pub. There was a posting for Psychic Night, then written on top of it's rescheduled due to unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, old joke, good joke, but an old joke.
That's I liked it. That was the first time I heard it, so thank you for sharing.
I've heard that a jillion times, man, a jillion times.
I bet you know all the psychic jokes.
I know all the psychic jokes, and I've invented one.
This is a good. So we have a psychic today. Can we ask him to locate things? I feel like even if you could ask you to locate things, I feel like you'd have to be more specific. Like, where's Hoffa's body?
Yeah.
Or you know, like, what was it Oswald alone? You know,
Right.
like something like that. I mean, do you ever get questions like that?
Not really. I used to have, and sometimes I'm pretty fair at locating things, sometimes not. There was a dear friend of mine who's on the other side now, and she said, "John, I've misplaced these papers. I can't find them. I'd really like to find them. Where are they?" And I said, "They're in a box, and the box is under like a chest of drawers or something and pushed way up in the back." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So sure enough, she went digging around on her hands and knees one day and found the box pushed back under the chest of drawers way up in the back, pulled them out, and there were the papers. And then I had a friend of mine, not really a client so much as just we were friends, and she would text me or email me. Rather, this was before texting. She would email me nearly every morning and go, "John, where are my car keys?" And I'd go, "They're in the basket in the kitchen." And she'd go, "Oh, thank you. Now I can go to work." That type of thing. But I don't specialize in that really, in lost objects and things. I've done it for people successfully, but not something that I really specialize in and don't really enjoy it that much. So
that's fair. Sonic Gravity had a good question. Do the majority of physical events that you remember, are they events that acknowledge you and interact with you, or is it more they were just walking around and doing their own thing?
both. I've had both. I've had spirits that have interacted with me, energies that have interacted with me, and then I've had spirits that it was just I saw them, they were there. It's like, okay.
Jazz Shaw with a $40 donation. Thank you so
Hey,
much,
Jazz.
sir. You're $10 short of making yourself take a shot, but I'm sure you're doing
I'll
that
do
with
one
or without
for
it.
him. Here you
There
go,
you go.
Jazz.
There you go. Yeah, he's got some bourbon. So Jazz Shaw says, John, in your experience, are there any non-human entities that are purely physical from somewhere else, or is everything else at least partly paranormal and among us?
I would say that there are non-human entities that are from elsewhere. Yeah. I think we run into problems when we try and put too restrictive a classification on things. And I was talking with somebody about this the other day, and I saw earlier somebody had made the comment that it's easier for me to believe in ghosts than ET UFOs or whatever. And that's the problem that we have. I believe in UFOs. I don't believe in psychics. I believe in psychics, but I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in this, but I don't believe in that. Or I think it's this, or I think it's that, or I think it's the other. And one of the great things that Skinwalker Ranch is doing for us on the History Channel when we see these things is saying, hey, we're out here and we've got portals opening up. We've got creatures coming through. We've got coal dropping. We're capturing stuff on camera. We've got ghosts. We've got weird things, and we've got UFOs. So it's an umbrella thing. And I think that's one of the things that we have to learn in the psychic and paranormal realm is we can't just exclude things willy-nilly or include things willy-nilly. It's a vast thing, and a lot of it seems to be tied together, and that's the connections that we're trying to make and figure out. And don't be a specialist, be a generalist. Be open and receptive to everything. And that's like I tell people, it's like there are things that I am better at as a psychic than other things, but I've never limited myself. I've practiced and learned healing, and I've learned the Ouija board and crystal ball gazing and UFOs and paranormal investigations and ghosts and elementals, nature spirits, crystals, rocks, everything. I didn't deny myself the experience of anything in this quest. And so I think that people don't need to limit their psychic abilities or their investigative abilities in that way. It's like open yourself up to what's out there, go find it, find what interacts with you, see what you can make of that, and do it in a practical way. And that's my main message with all of this. It has to be practical. It has to work. I always tell my clients, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you how to apply it. And it has to work. It has to do something that makes your life better, that gives you tools and techniques to help improve your life, or to tell you, hey, here's something I see coming, here's how to avoid this, or here's how to minimize it, or do this instead, or whatever. All of these things need to be practical. And in our investigations, whether it's UFOs or anything else, it has to come down to, we live in these physical bodies. We have to interact in this physical world. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to buy food, we have to work, we have to do all of these things. So how do we make that better? How can we use what we find out from these realms to improve our lives and to improve others' lives? Because that should be the goal of every single thing that we're doing. It's not a parlor trick. It's not to impress anybody with our powers. It's not to set ourselves up as some authority in some field and you haven't done anything in 10 years, but the same old books or whatever, and you don't know anything new. That's not what it's all about. You know, the paranormal, UFOs, everything is happening right now today. And it irks me no end. I see these things. I saw a couple of things today, and one was this lady's UFO experience from 1954, and then somebody else thing from 1970 or whatever. Look, I have paranormal experiences happening every single day in my life in real time. A lot of people that I know do. UFOs are active in real time right now, today. That's what we need to be connecting with and investigating, not rehashing Roswell over and over and over and over, not going back to some lady's experience in 1954, 53, whatever. We need to be on top of what's going on right now today. There's plenty going on today to investigate and to deal with, but people seem to get so hidebound, or they lack the resources, they lack I don't know what it is, but we're all stuck in the past with all this stuff, and things are going on right now. And I always tell people, you know, and I said, look, if I have the capability, I just had a cardiac catheterization. I was in the hospital a few days in December. I thought maybe I was going to buy the friggin' farm. I really did. So I've got these serious health issues. I'm 68. If I had the ability, I'd be out there investigating this more and doing this more, because stuff is happening constantly. It's happening all the time. And the thing that bugs me, that people that won't get out and investigate this, it's like with the UFO situation with Congress and what's going on there. All our government does is form a committee to investigate, forming a committee to talk about a committee, to maybe form a committee to start this committee. That's all they do, okay? And we fall into the same trap in the paranormal and in the UFO community. Well, let's get together and talk about how we're going to start up to do. No. Here's how you do it. I'm an artist, a professional artist. And we had one time, a bunch of us got together. There was a gallery there in town, and they had this beautiful gallery and beautiful work. And we wanted to communicate, market our work better to people. We wanted to hold events. We wanted to do some things. So they wanted to form a group of artists. They got together to support each other, to promote shows, to further everything that we did. So we all met, and they said, okay, how do we do this? I said, what do you want to call yourselves? Well, we're going to be a society, so how about the Artist Society? I said, that sounds great. All right. When's our first meeting? Well, I don't know. We have to get together. And I said, no, we don't get together and decide. When's our first meeting? And you set the meeting. And they said, just like that? And I said, just like that. Well, how do I said, okay, are we going to be formal? Do we want constitution, bylaws, Robert's Rules of Order, all that kind of stuff? What are we going to do? Well, yeah, we'd like it to be formal. Who knows somebody that knows how to set that up? Does anybody know an attorney? Does anybody know how to get us nonprofit water? Well, yeah, I know this attorney that does that. I know. Okay, you call him tomorrow. You set this up. You call him. You set this up. Who's going to do advertising? Who's going to do the printing? Let's do it. And in one night it was done, because I said, we don't talk about it, we do it. So I think this is what's lacking a lot in psychic investigation, paranormal investigation, UFO investigation. People want to talk about it. People want to form committees. People want to form clubs. People want to get in clubs. People want to sit around and talk instead of getting out and doing it. And it's there. If you'll go and investigate it, it will interact with you at some point. If you're open, if you're honest, if you're respectful, and if you're willing, you'll go out there and you'll find it. You'll get it. And we need to be doing that in the now, not looking back at Roswell, not looking back at Rendlesham Forest, not not all these things in the past. It's going on right now. I was sitting there on Coast to Coast AM the other day. I get the mop slot there. I get the cleanup slot, 3 to 5 a.m. Eastern time. Okay. So I'm up at 1, 2 in the morning, getting myself awake, answering client emails and things before I go on the air, getting myself ready for Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. Now, when I do late night slots like that, and 11 midnight, 1 in the morning, I've done a lot of those. And I usually sit in my office and keep my blinds closed that late at night. So I got up and I said, okay, the other side's telling me to open my blinds tonight. I don't know why, but they're saying, open your blinds tonight. So, okay, it's 3 in the morning. It's pitch black outside. So I lit a candle, turned the lights out, got on the phone with George, opened up the blinds. And as the show starts, there's these 2 giant, like 7, 8 foot tall figures in my backyard right by my window, and they're looking at me in the window like this. I'm like, holy cow. And then they walked, we have this outside wall that's kind of walls off part of the patio area. And they walked through this wall to disappear. And I was like, wow, okay, that's good. Now that just happened. So, I mean, these things are going on all the time. So if you're a serious paranormal investigator and you want to connect with this, it's there. It's happening right now today. It's happening where you're at. But
how could someone like me go and investigate and experience something like that? Like what tips would you have?
You open yourself up to it, and the best way to do that, look, the other side's around us all the time. They hear us, they see us, they listen to us, they respond, they interact. What you do is go respectfully. Don't go in like these stupid fake ghost hunters on TV, cursing the ghost and all this stuff. Go in respectfully and say, look, I'm here to learn. I want to make my life better, and I want to make other people's lives better, and I want to learn more about this interaction between the worlds and how that can come about and make life better. Teach me, guide me. Where do I start? And then maybe try some EVP, maybe get a digital recorder and try and record spirit voices. Maybe just sit and see what intuition comes to you. Maybe if there's a haunted locale that has a lot of activity, go out there and try and investigate that. And when you get there, come up to the location and say, look, whoever's here, if you have a story for me, an experience, an emotion, something you want to convey to me, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm not here to cast you out. I'm not here to be all arrogant and all this. I'm here to learn. I'm here to respect you. I ask that you respect me. What can you tell me? So that's where you begin. And the more that you do that, the more you're receptive, the more things will come to you. And then you ask them, what are you telling me? Why are you here? This is one thing that paranormal investigators miss. Yeah, you can get you can go out and get EVP recordings. You can go out with your meters and your this and your that and so on and so forth. And you can get evidence that things are happening, that spirits are there, that things are going on. Absolutely. But why? Why is that spirit there? Is it trying to communicate something? And if so, what? And does it hang around there all the time? Does it come and go? Is it passing through? What's its purpose? What's its motivation? You're dealing with intelligent entities. You're not dealing with discarnate numbnuts out here. You're dealing with intelligent entities. So you respect them as such, you treat them as such, and then you ask them, why are you here? What's the purpose of your interaction? What do you want to communicate? And as a psychic, that's what I do. When I go on someplace to an investigation, I ask that spirit, okay, why are you communicating with me right now? Is there something you want to get through to me? It's just like, if you didn't speak Spanish and you walked up and your buddy's over here and you walk up to somebody over here and he speaks Spanish, then he's going to communicate to you what this person's trying to get through. Maybe this person's like, man, I need $10 for bus fare. Can you help me? I don't understand, but the guy can translate. So that's my purpose when I go to some place. Yeah, somebody set off the REM pod or somebody flicked a light on or off of this and the other, but why? What are you communicating? You got our attention. Now, what do you need us to know? What do you need to get across to us? And so that's what you do in paranormal investigations. That's how you start. It's a very simple thing. And believe me, there's plenty of experience out there. And the best way to do it is not get hidebound by dogma. If you're attracted to the Ouija board, use a Ouija board. People, oh, the Ouija board. John don't know what he's talking about. You're going to open a portal to the devil. Demon's going to possess you. I used a Ouija board since I was 15 years old. Never had a bad experience. Never had demon possession or any of this other nonsense. The Ouija board, we think William Fuld, we think Parker Brothers. No, the Native Americans had talking boards. It's documented. You go back hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, and there are cultures that use like talking board type devices. So this has been around forever and a day. And I always get tickled about the Ouija board. And I saw this the other day, and it was one of the greatest things I ever saw. Somebody said, why is it dangerous to use the Ouija board, but it's not dangerous to use the crystal ball or, pendulum or this and the other? Why the Ouija board? It's just a tool like anything else. So if you're attracted to that, it works for you, use it. Forget what everybody else says. But if you, in your heart, if you have some hang up, if you're scared about something, don't do it. Simple as that. But that's how you get started. You go out there and you do it.
Sorry. Can I ask like what it feels like when you're doing a reading? Because it's kind of like I hear the psychic phenomenon described in two different ways. One, it seems kind of more like the astral projection, like almost like you're connecting to a super highway of information. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's you that's doing the seeking of information. And then there's the spirits are telling me, they are telling me.
Yep.
Is both happening? What does it feel like when you're imagining somebody's room? Let's per se, like not something emotional, like spiritual per se. What does that feel like? Where's that coming from?
That's a good question, Jane. And it's so damn hard to describe. The best way I can describe it is I don't go into trance, but I kind of go out there a little bit and I connect with this other. And in this other, there are my guys, my spirit guides, guardian angels, deceased friends on the other side, whatever, this retinue of spirits that I've had around me since I was a kid. And they tap into this information and they bring it to me in a way that I can correctly interpret it and pass it on to the client in a meaningful way. And that comes to me in a way that I can only describe as a certainty of knowing. And what I mean by that is when we're all in school, we learn that 2 + 2 = 4. And then we learn that 2 + 2 = 4 anywhere in the world. And we know that as a fact. And it's something that resides in us for our entire lives. And it's there and we know it. So when I tell a client, oh, your brother loved to bet on the horses and he was a big into the racetrack and the horses and all this, and go into much more detail on that, that comes to me as a knowing, just like I know 2 + 2 = 4. It resides in me that same way as a fact. And then I communicate that to the client that way. And then when I'm describing a person's physicality, their physical appearance, or the inside of their home, what that looks like, something like that, that comes to me in a vision that I see it with my eyes open, but it's a vision. And I can describe accurately every object and everything in there. And that comes to me that way. And that's the best way I can describe it. And it's I get high when I do readings. I have to come down after I've done the readings because I'm so full of energy and so energized. And it's a great feeling. It's a marvelous feeling. People say, don't you get exhausted reading for all these clients? I say, no, it's actually the opposite. It energizes me. And it's like being on podcasts talking about this and the energies around me with this, that energizes me. So like when we're done tonight, I'm not going to go to bed for a long time. I'll be up having a few more bourbons and kind of getting the energy settled back down. So it's really a neat thing. It's a blessing. It's a privilege. It's a marvelous thing, but that's how it comes to me. And that's probably an incomplete and not a very detailed description, but it's the best I can give you.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, for that. Oh,
Lou, you're muted there.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you guys for reminding me. A couple more questions from the chat. This one from Sowilo R. A shadow person opened and closed my bedroom door when I was a child one night. What was that about?
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of times The other side just is kind of like, hey, we're here. And I mean, there are events where I believe we tune into those realms. Kind of, it just happens. It's just kind of inadvertently, and we experience something. It may have meaning. It may not. And then again, it may have been like with that. It could be, hey, you're seeing something here. Investigate this. Go further. Like I did. So maybe they were communicating that to you to kind of want you to realize that realm is there and to develop yourselves. And sometimes look, like where we're all sitting right now, every one of us and everybody listening to this, there's all these invisible radio waves going through the air right now, right where all of us are at. And we're not aware of them. We don't hear any music, but if we hit the right frequency on a radio, we'll hear talk or country or metal or jazz or whatever. All that's in the air right now. It's all there right now, 24 hours a day, all around us. But we're not tuned into it at the moment. And all these things in the paranormal realm, the psychic realm, that's all around all of us right now. There's no special place to go to get it. Every place is haunted. Every place has this energy, but we're not tuned into it. And so that's going back to what Rather asked, how do we do that? Well, firstly, you become aware that it's there all the time. There's no special conditions for it.
Yeah. So what do you make of, supposed paranormal hotspots and UFO hotspots like Skinwalker Ranch? Do you think there's any credence to that, or do you think that that's just
I do
random?
think that over time there are certain areas that develop a little more manifestation than others. But in my experience, like everywhere I've lived, these manifestations have come with me and have exhibited themselves. Everywhere I've gone for an investigation or whatever, these manifestations exhibit. So one of the things we have to learn is that every place is haunted. But I think through attention, the more attention we pay to something, it pays attention back to us. Like at Skinwalker Ranch, they put the cameras up, the monitors up, and this and the other. They're paying attention to the things out there that want to interact with that are going, okay, let's give them a show. They're paying attention. We're going to pay attention back. So I think that's the thing that you look at with this.
Okay, so there's a couple of people been asking Laura Campbell and also Tina Tamajeski, please give Rather Be Squinting a reading.
No, I'm gonna leave Rather off the hook at this point.
Can you read this face?
We might go too deep into a few things Rather might not want on this program.
Did anybody in the chat, could get personal, right?
Because I always tell people, I say, when you get a reading with me, we're going to go deep. We're going to get in all the closets, and we're going to get in. The guys don't know any such thing as boundaries when I do a reading for a person. And so, it's like we're not going to put Rather on the spot. If Rather wants a reading, he'll come to me. He'll get a reading.
Does the person have to be?
I want to know what room though. Like while we're on the topic though, I want to know what the room is next to you. Is it your kitchen? Did anybody in the chat do a reading?
You might be psychic, Jane.
Is there like a red chair? Is there a red chair in the kitchen?
What in the kitchen?
Is there a wall?
A red chair.
Is there a wall anywhere in your house?
Is there a wall?
There is a wall. There is a kitchen, and did you say green chair or just chair?
Red chair.
Red chair. That's a negative. It's
Darn it.
2 out of 3 bad though.
Sorry, Jane. You don't have the gift.
Got the kitchen right.
Okay. So there's, of course, with this conversation, John, there's going to be folks who we're going to be skeptical, right? They're going to have some separate questions. So there's some questions from the chat that I want to throw from you. And then just get your response to it. This is the first one from Kathy Splash. Why isn't there a single ounce of evidence pointing towards the existence of paranormal?
Stanford Research Institute.
At least there's something to grasp when it comes to UFOs. Do people think it's some major cover-up?
Again, Stanford Research Institute, there's plenty of evidence for the paranormal. You just have to investigate it. It's like, and then I'll answer the other thing about the cover-up. But look, when when you were talking with, oh God, Skinwalker Ranch, the guy.
Brandon Fugel.
Thank you. And I said in the chat, I said, for all these people saying there's no evidence, have you watched the friggin' show? And Brandon was like, thank you, John. And he was saying, look, among my detractors, it's like, I asked him, I said, have you seen the shows? Have you seen the episodes? Have you seen what we've captured? Have you seen what we're doing? Well, no. So for the people that say, there's no evidence, there's plenty of evidence. Go out there and look for it. You'll find tons of evidence. There's plenty of evidence. And as far as cover-ups, as far as the cover-up for the UFO thing, it certainly appears to be. The reason that I say that, and we've discussed this before when I was on Singularity Lab with you guys, I saw a documentary, they're saying we can't get pictures of these things. We don't have the technology to get pictures of these things. I saw a documentary with one of our former CIA chiefs, and he said that during the Blackbird era, for the people that don't know, that's the SR-71 Blackbird, which was our El Supremo spy plane. It flew in subspace. It flew so high, and it flew at speeds that nothing could catch it. No missile, no rocket, no plane, no nothing. And he said during the Blackbird era, he said, if you put 2 golf balls on a putting green a foot apart, and the Blackbird flew over that putting green in subspace at speed, its camera would take a picture of those golf balls. And when you develop the film, you could read clearly which one was a Titleist and which one was a McGregor. He said, that's decades old technology. Imagine what we could do now. Now, this is a documentary I saw probably 10, 20 years ago. Okay. And he was saying that. So imagine what we have. So to state that we can't get pictures of these things, it's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. If the Blackbird all those years ago flying in subspace at speed could take a picture that was that clear, imagine what we do have now. Come on, it's ridiculous. To say that we have all the technology, all the intelligence, everything that we do, and that we have no clue what these craft are doing here, where they come from, or who's in them, or what's involved, I find that to be ludicrous. I find that to be the most ridiculous statement on the planet. It's like, come on. We have the technology that they show us is the teeny, 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 tiny tip of the iceberg of what we actually have and are capable of doing. That's just what they want us to know that we have. And when they tell us, oh, well, we can, or we don't have the funding, or we don't have the technology, oh, please. If you believe that, I got a motorcycle I want to sell you for about $100,000. So,
well, if these entities, can predict the future, know what we're going to do ahead of time, and they did not want to be captured, couldn't they evade capture and evade any time that someone's going to take a picture of them? And would you agree with that? That's kind of up to them to expose themselves.
Looks like they have that capability, to cloak or to evade or disappear or whatever. But then you have to go to the fact that we do have, good pictures of these. So why sometimes do you get to see them or take a picture or whatever? Sometimes you don't. So we don't know why that is. We don't know what they're doing. We speculate, we guess. But that's part of the problem with ufology right now is like, look, you've got the Good Old Boys Club. And the Good Old Boys Club are going to the same conventions year after year after year, hawking the same books. And there's nothing new. There's no new information. There's nothing to hang our hats on. And we've got to get out of that, get away from all of that, and get to some nitty gritty research and go into this. And that's what I wanted to go back to when they had the big phone home. And, he had the Congressman, Tim Burchett. And he was saying, look, that, I'm going to quote him here. I watched it the other day, and this is a direct quote. He said, we need to bust somebody's ass and get this stuff out. That's what Congressman Tim Burchett said on the big phone home 2, day 1. And, it's like, look, it's out there. It's available. We need to get this stuff out. We've got to do something here. So that's the thing where everything's at right now. It's like it's the Good Old Boys Club. Nobody's really actually doing anything. We have conventions and we go and we sell our books and we give our presentations and we do this and we do that. And what have we done at the end of the day? What have we actually really literally accomplished? And the answer is not a hell of a lot. And it's like when I shot the pilot for the History Channel, I was not satisfied unless we had some physical evidence at the end of every day. And when we started out, there were a lot of people in the film crew that were like, yeah, okay, psychic, whatever. I'm here to get my check and I'll do this and I screw this guy. And so when I went into this, my determination was to make every single person on that film crew a believer. And I did. And so that's what we should be doing in all of this. And everything that we do is like, look, let's get something here we can hang our hat on. Let's get past the lies. Let's get past the speculations. Let's get past the personalities, and let's get something that, let's break the door open with this. Let's bust some people's asses and let's find out what's going on. Not a popular view, but the truth.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, Tim Burchett did say that. I mean, yeah. Okay, so there was another question here that I thought was a good one. Oh, here it is. Infinity Tie Center asks, Luis, can you ask the best ways to learn and develop such skills? And I'll also add where.
In your home, by yourself. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to go join a group. You don't need to do this, do that. We have this misconception that we need a priest or a guru or a rabbi or this or that or whatever. We don't, because the other side is there right now with all of us, with all of you. And if you go to that energy, that power, that intelligence, that source, whatever you want to name it, and say, look, I'm here. I want to learn. I want you to open yourself up to me. I'm opening myself up to you. What should I do in my life? How do I need to learn and progress in this? What are my gifts and abilities? How do I advance in this? And then sit quietly and wait. Wait for inspiration to come. Wait for guidance to come. And unfortunately, it's a step-by-step procedure. It's slow. It doesn't come. You don't get any vast boom. I'm illuminated. I'm enlightened or all that. It doesn't come that way. I've been doing this for 50 years professionally, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. Nobody ever masters anything. I hate when people say, oh, there's a master or an avatar or a guru. Bullshit. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you're a master, you don't need glasses. How many monks you seen wearing glasses? I've seen some. If you're that evolved, why do you need glasses to see? Get out of here with that crap. So there's, it's a process, and it's a step-by-step process. And it's a process you have to dedicate yourself to. If you have a little bit of natural ability to run, and you decide I'm going to become the next world champion marathoner, guess what you do? You find you a good coach, and you train, and you learn, and you train, and you go to a sports nutritionist, and you go to all these other things, and you learn how to develop your body to its max and how to utilize your oxygen to the max. Does that take place over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years? No. It's a long process, and it's a lifetime thing. And you may get the wrong coach along the way. You say, man, this guy didn't help me out. I got to find somebody else that can teach me to train better, so I run longer and faster, utilize my oxygen better, and so on and so forth. And it's the same thing in the spiritual realm. You don't get this vast enlightenment instantly, and you don't get really, you never attain ultimate enlightenment. There's no gurus, there's no avatars, there's no masters. You don't master anything. You say, well, the old master painters. Guess what? Go back and research the old master painters. I'm an artist, so I can talk about this. You x-ray those old master paintings, and they've painted over stuff. They made mistakes, or they changed their mind, and they changed this, and they did this instead, and they did that. And underneath that, when you x-ray that painting, there may be another painting under there, or there may be something where they shifted the subject's head slightly a little bit in the repainting of it, and so on and so forth. We all make mistakes. We all change. We're all learning. There's no masters. You don't master anything. You get pretty darn good at it. But if you were a master, you'd never lose a golf tournament. You would never lose a foot race. You would never miss a note playing music. You ever watch American Idol? Lionel Richie says over and over and over and over, man, I've sang these songs for decades and I get up to perform and I forget the friggin' words. Okay. There's no masters. All right. So if anybody tells you they're a guru or an avatar, a master, I can teach you the way, all this and all that. It ain't out there. It comes through this slow and steady growth, and it comes from finding your niche. Okay. Maybe you're not meant to be a world-class pianist. Maybe you're meant to be a baker. Maybe you're not meant to be a baker. Maybe you're meant to be an accountant. You know, and you find your niche in life, and then you find your spiritual niche in life. Maybe you're not meant to be a psychic with a worldwide clientele. Maybe you're just supposed to develop the ability to be empathetic to people, to know what they're going through and to help ease them through that and make them feel better. Maybe that's your niche. So we have to let the other side guide us in that. Are there some people along the way that can say, you know, I feel like you're led this way, or your gift is this, or your talent is this? Yes, but you have to be so careful in doing that, because people have their own agendas. People will take advantage of you. People will mislead you because they're misled themselves. And it's a real difficult thing, but there are ways to do that, and that's the best way to start it. And then see what you're led to. See where your intuition guides you. You may be walking through the bookstore and go, oh, wow, look at this book. This looks interesting. And you get that and you read it, and it's another step in your spiritual development. Those types of things. So that's where it is.
Got it. And then James Doyle asks, in reference to the big 8 foot tall
the guys
figures you saw. Yeah, he asked, well, how's that different than Angelique's giant alien?
Because I didn't call a press conference at the Capitol steps. I didn't go to the newspaper and go, I've met with the giant people in my yard, and in 2 months, why is it always 2 months? In 2 months, they're going to reveal everything to everybody, and everybody's going to know everything about it. I didn't do that. So that's the difference.
Well, have you ever, you know, kind of psychically communicated with, you know, non-human entities like that, and, you know, asked them that question, why are you here? And have you gotten a response?
Yeah. And look, they inhabit the same world we do. They inhabit the same space we do. They inhabit the same energies that we do. This stuff is out there all the time, and we're just mostly unaware of it. But they have emotions, they have will, they have volition, they have things that they do. They have a lifestyle, or a calling, or a purpose, just like we do. And we all interact together. We all live together in this dimension. And when they privilege us to see them, it's because they've allowed us to connect with them in that way, and maybe show us something that they're doing or interacting with us, somehow furthering our development, or just letting us know. You know, it's pretty amazing if you're sitting there thinking, you know, I'm the big king stud on this planet, and I drive a car, and I do this, and I do that. Holy cow, all of a sudden some spirit appears here in the flesh and then disappears. I ain't the only one here. I'm not the only one in this realm. I'm not the only one with a will and a purpose. So it kind of jars you a little bit, kind of gives you that perception, that idea that, you know, hey, there's other things out here.
How can you tell the difference between spirits and ETs? So, like, because you said, you know, you've asked questions. Like, does it feel different when you're getting a message from them?
Absolutely. I think, you know, with spirits, with ETs, to me, it feels like they're out there, they're the other, and they're primarily in physical bodies. Now, they may have learned to manipulate that reality so that we don't perceive it that way all the time. But my feeling is that they're more in physical bodies, whereas these spirits, entities, whatever, these elementals, they're kind of in this other dimension that kind of the veil lifts and they interact with us a little bit, then they recede back into this other dimension. So it's more of a spiritual thing, I think, with these entities than with the ETs. It seems to be more of a physical thing. Not that there isn't a spiritual component to it, perhaps. And I certainly believe that it can tie in with a psychic or paranormal component. And I've had that experience. We talked about that on the Singularity Lab with the supernatural component that appeared right before I saw the physical UFO. So I believe that can certainly be there. But for me, there's that separation, that one is more of a spiritual, energetic type thing. The other is more of a physical type thing.
There was somebody, hold on one second. Let me just find there it is. It's same gentleman, James Doyle, asked, where can we find your art? Thanks.
Oh, bless your heart. My my art website is woefully on the back burner. You know, I read full time for a worldwide clientele. I do these podcasts. Last year I was interviewed over 70 times. And like this year, I'm trying to cut back so I can have a little time from that. You know, I do other things. And so we just moved. I don't have my art set up to start working on that again. That's something I talked with my wife about today. I've got to set up the easel. I've got to start painting again, start working again. So I don't really have anything out there right now available, but hopefully we'll get back to that soon.
Well, I'm sure you've got. I mean, I bet if somebody just Googles your name or goes to your website, or that somebody, there's got to be pictures of your art somewhere out there, right?
Yeah, I've got an art website out there, and it's inactive. It's just defunct. I mean, you can go to joetrue.com and you'll see it. But like I say, it's defunct. There's no action, no activity on it now. Okay. And for some people that are really interested in my art and photography, I have a Flickr website, and there's some things on there, but there's also a lot of fun things on the Flickr side. So not everything you see there is serious. There used to be a lot of friends that I was on there with, and we do all kinds of silly things with our art and photography just for fun. So there's some serious work there, some not serious work there, but yeah, there's some stuff out there, but I haven't done anything with it seriously. I've sold a lot of pieces. I've been in a lot of shows. I have a pretty long artistic resume, but I just haven't done anything in several years now because I haven't had the time.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Grant Levac, asks, what are your thoughts on John Edwards and the commercialization of mediumship? And I'll kind of ask a second follow-up to that is, have you ever seen someone on television that was actually doing a good job?
Yeah. John Edward is one. I've seen John Edward in person, and I firmly believe that John Edward has a legitimate gift. Now, I think that along the way, he fell into the commercial trap. Back early on, he would say, I will never pay or charge more for a reading than I would pay myself for a reading. And at the time, Sylvia Brown, when she was alive, she was charging $850 for a reading, which is just absolutely, for that, I better get the lottery numbers and a sexual favor, okay?
Wow.
So John Edward at the time was making the statement that I would never charge more for a reading than I would pay myself, and so on and so forth. Sylvia Brown died, and John Edward upped his readings to $850. And I thought, I won't go into the litany of curses I had for him at that point, because it's just ridiculous. And so I think it does reach the point of commercialization. You know, I have people in the chat here. I have people that think I'm rich because I've got a couple of books out, and you know, I do my readings and all this. I can guarantee you just about everybody in the chat probably makes more a year than I do. If you think writers make a lot of money, James Patterson does. Most of the rest of us struggle like crazy. People have this misperception of the publishing industry. If you go with one of the big 5 major publishers, and this is documented and easy to find out, easy to research, and I've talked to New York agents, New York publishers, and everything else, and I have some writers and agents as my clients. If you go with one of the big 5 major publishers, they pick up your book, market it, and promote it. Most of them don't earn their advance back. Okay. So writing is not this lucrative field that everybody thinks it is. It's a real struggle. And it's like, well, why'd you write the book, Sam? Well, I wanted to get this message out. It was important enough to me to get this to people, to kind of give them something to hang their hats on, and give them an honest, real view of what's going on out there. And if somebody is a psychic and they're making $1 bajillion, that kind of worries me a little bit. I mean, John Edward at one point on his website, I don't know if he still does or not, but he had little pens that you could buy, and little blessed, you know, almost like the blessed prayer cloth that the evangelist had, and all this kind of nonsense. And it's just like, that's crazy. It's just like, you know, that's goofy. That's nothing. And so people shouldn't be doing that. So,
I guess my next question to that would be, well, what does John Russell charge for a reading?
I charge $125 for 30 minutes, and not much of that goes in my pocket. I pay taxes. I have all these marketing expenses. The credit card companies take a deduction out of that, and so on and so forth. So, it would be sweet if I was rich, but I ain't. Some days I don't even afford French fries with a hamburger. But the best thing about it is I go to bed at night and I sleep good. I've never cheated anybody. There's been times I've refused people. I've refused clients. I said, you don't need a reading. This is what you need to hear from the other side right now. Go your way. And there's been people that have paid for readings. I've called them up, refunded their money. I said, I just refunded your money. You don't need a reading. The other side told me you don't need a reading. So, it's the honesty kills my ass. But like I say, I sleep good at night.
Yeah.
What kind of connection do you need for a reading? Like, if someone called up and said, "Hey, I want a reading on someone else," a third party, could you do that? Or
yeah, I have, and I do, and I have several times. Yeah. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like, and especially on like Coast to Coast AM, a lot of other shows that I'm on, some of the shows that I was on would take call-ins, and they would say, what do you need? You need a birth date or an astrological sign or this. I said, I need nothing. I need the question. What do you want to know? And it's like, people have all these misconceptions about what a psychic needs or this, that, the other, or whatever. And, geez. Oh,
I think we should pool our money, maybe do a session on Lou Elizondo, see who's Lou.
Yeah, who's Lou? That's a good one. That's a great one. I just want to know, am I wasting my time with my acting? Like, should I just pack it in and go the hell home, John?
Pack it up. Oh, my. Yeah, but I do hate to see the commercialization of this. And of course, a lot of the things that you saw, like, who was it? Miss Cleo. Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I would
she actually
Jamaican accent or whatever, and I don't think she was even Jamaican.
She was Jamaican. She's actually from the neighborhood I grew up in.
There you go.
People would see her at the local shopping center all the time.
And
she
so
wasn't
you got
even
all
Jamaican.
that junk out there, and it's like, I hate all of that. I hate the phonies. I hate the commercialization. And even if you have a legitimate gift, even if you do have something that's there, at least try and make it semi-affordable. It's like I was on a podcast and the host said, one of the best things ever. He said, you're not charging for your gift, you're charging for your time. And that's true. I had somebody ask me on Twitter the other day, they said, if you really want to help people, why do you charge so much? And I said, because when I go to the grocery store and tell them I'm a world-renowned psychic, they don't give a damn.
Yeah, that doesn't run through the credit card system.
How are you going to pay? And it's like, okay. Yeah. You want me to do this? You want me to tell your future? You want me to give you insights? You want me to do these investigations? I got to pay the bills somehow, Now, if Donald Trump wants to come along someday, or Bill Gates or somebody, or Brandon Fugel and say, John, guess what? I'm going to fund you for the next 10 years. You can give all your readings away for free. You won't have to worry about paying your bills, eating, a new car, whatever. I'm going to take care of it. Hallelujah. But that hadn't happened in 50 years. So there I sit.
Okay, well, I've there was one last thing I wanted to get to today, and that was Senator Gillibrand's comments in this confirmation hearing. So you're more than welcome to stick around for that, John, but if you need to get out of here, we can also say goodbye. It's up to you.
Yeah, well, I'll get out of here and just tell everybody thank you so much. And for some dude that says what a humble charlatan, I'll say eat my shorts, like
some dude here. Okay, all right, yeah. Eat his shorts. Some dude.
Eat my shorts.
Well, I kind of do love the idea of getting a half-hour reading on Lou Elizondo.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
There you go.
I don't know.
Lou would have to want that. And of course, it would be totally confidential because all my client readings are totally confidential. So, and if he chose to tell you about the reading, that would be okay. But
we can't give you $125 and do a reading on Lou for us.
For us,
no,
that's not ethical.
Damn it! All right.
But if Lou's listening, he wants to do that gig. We can do that gig, and then if he wants to tell you about it, we can. But no.
Well, John Russell, we really appreciate your time.
Listen, I appreciate you guys, and it's been a blast. It's been, I thank everybody in the chat, and thank you guys. It's been a blast being here. And my main message I want to leave people with is like, look, this is real. You can find that it's real. There is evidence out there. There is proof out there. And the main focus of this is, okay, if it is real, what does that do for my life? How does that change my life for the better? And then how can I help somebody else and help enlighten them, help them go through what they're going through and give them a little more spiritual foundation or hope or encouragement or whatever, or faith or whatever. And that's what it's all about.
Well, guys, Tina Tomaszewski's been putting John Russell's links on Amazon for his books, so check it out if you want to catch up on John's books. I know Rather's a quarter of the way through one of them right now. About
a fun read. You're a good author.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So go check it out. John, is there anything else you'd like to say before you get out of here?
That's it. Just bless everybody. Thank you for having me, and look forward to doing it again. And everybody hang in. We're going through rough times. It's crazy times in this world. But I do believe there are ways out. I do believe there are ways to connect with the spiritual realm in ways that will help us and see us through. And that's the main message. Hang in there.
Man, I hope you're right. All right, John Russell. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Night,
It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, John.
Yes, sir. Ciao. That was fun. He's always fun. He's such a sweet man.
Yeah, such a nice guy. And yeah, very, very interesting. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
totally sold on everything, but I believe everything that he says that he believes, and yeah, it's interesting.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm fascinated by him calling John Edward like maybe like the real deal. Maybe not so much anymore. That's kind of what I was asking about earlier. Like, are some of these charlatans actually psychic? And maybe they start off with good intentions. And I wonder, because he kept kind of going back to the intention, right? So like, have good intentions, be trying to help, be trying to learn. So I wonder if even like your abilities, if they can wane on you, or over time, if you like lose sight of the mission, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was the psychic. I don't know. That stuff's probably just as interesting, if not more so, to me as the UFO stuff, all the remote viewing, astral projection, intuition. Yeah, I think that's where it's all going to end up eventually.
The unknown is an interesting place to explore.
Mm-hmm.
No, it definitely is, man. It's like trying to catch smoke, though. Especially if you can't experience it yourself, it is as difficult as trying to catch smoke. It's almost impossible. But we'll see. Only time will tell, right? I mean, the world's a crazy place, and again, like as science is able to go smaller, the weirder things get. As we go bigger, the weirder things get. So, again, like I feel like when and if we ever do get an answer to what these phenomena could be, UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, all this stuff, psychics, it's going to be, everybody's going to be so wrong on on what it is. I don't think anybody has a clue. But yeah, anyway, this was a cool, I don't know if you guys saw the Fade to Black interview last night with Lou Elizondo.
I caught about half of it.
You caught about half of it. I think there's two things that I caught that I thought were hilarious. The first is he called Lou Elizondo fat, even though he lost 30 pounds. Lou looks good.
He's looking good. Yeah, he's looking good.
All right. I just got another coughing attack.
Oh,
so I'm going to watch.
That's
okay. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm watching him here.
No problem. All right, I'll take you out for a second. I'll take you out. When you come back, when your screen comes back on, I'll bring you back in. But yeah, I mean, I was like, damn, dude, that's like.
The weird thing is that on his show, you can't even see the interviewee, right?
Yeah, you can't even see the interviewee. So if you haven't seen Lou in a while, you might think he's still chunky. But he looks good, dude. I mean, he's lost 30 pounds. It was I felt so bad for him because I know that I saw it on his face. I have been that guy where they're like, oh man, hey, somebody told me you lost weight or you were trying to lose weight or what's going on? And I was like, actually, I've lost 30 pounds. And they're like, doesn't look like it. I mean, straight up. So the shock, I could imagine the shock on Lou Elizondo's face when that,
30 pounds all in the goatee.
Yeah, exactly. Jane, you okay?
Oh my gosh, that was just such a sad interview, guys. I should be done. I should be done with all that stuff.
It's okay,
so.
Jane. It's okay.
Yeah,
The second thing that I caught that I just found just strange, and I guess this is just something that Jimmy Church really is impressing upon, but he kept asking him about alien bodies in different kinds of races, and Lou's like, I can't get into it. Like, I'm not going to go there. And I think not because he has the answer. I don't think he has a clue. I just felt like he kept hammering it. And I was like, for me, I was like, Jimmy, like, what are you doing, bud? Like, he's not going to answer that question no matter how many different ways you ask it. And then they talked about Roswell, and he asked about Roswell, and Lou's like, yeah, we didn't look at Roswell while at ATIP. We didn't even look into it. And then he kept pressing him again about Roswell. So he had to answer like differently, like basically like, I've heard things about Roswell, but Jimmy's very, 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 he wants the answers on, he wants the bodies. He wants the craft. That's what I think he's expecting out of the process. And I think you're just setting yourself up for disappointment if that's where your expectations are on what's going to be happening legislatively or from a government perspective. They're never going to whip out bodies or craft. No. I don't think.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think that Lou Elizondo kind of knows it all, right? But
yeah,
in pretty much any of the interviews that I've seen, he seems pretty consistent in saying that the government knows that there's something really weird going on, but no one really knows what that weirdness is or what form it really is. The only time where I've kind of seen that maybe slip a little bit is when he said that he's seen a picture of a craft with occupants inside of it. And that's honestly where I start to question things a little bit to see, would I have that same judgment call if I saw that same picture? And regardless, what do those occupants look like? Do we know something about what they are? And I feel like that's still a little bit of a blurred line, but I agree with you that
I wish I could remember the quote. I'm I'm so just terribly sad right now about this Roswell being covered up. I swear there was a quote where he alluded to at least being a Roswell believer, but I don't think he's ever said that he's privy to any, special information about it. And I don't know why he would be at ATIP or when he was, in, counterintelligence. So I don't think that he's been briefed. I don't think that they would, if you think there's a plan, they would allow him to be talking and if he was briefed on any of that, because that would be just too risky. He could just accidentally say something with all these interviews. So I would imagine he's only been briefed information that if he were to accidentally say it, the world wouldn't shatter. Right?
Well, yeah, and I think he did on this Jimmy Church and other interviews. He said that the evidence points to something extraordinary happening back then, but he wouldn't, elaborate beyond that.
I mean, honestly, I think a top secret weather balloon that listens to nuclear devices crashing in the middle of somebody's farm is extraordinary. That's an extraordinary thing.
But do you know what I think is the most obvious thing that happened? I think it's so obvious.
Go for it.
I think there was a spy balloon, and I think a saucer crashed into it. And I think
everyone's right.
Recovered, and I think every witness who saw the saucer, the bodies, or any information whatsoever outside Mogul, the spy balloon, that was all covered up, and everything else remained. I mean, I think that's obviously. I think I would put a lot of money on that. That's what happened.
That's the first time I've heard that.
I've had that theory for a while, and lately I'm just like, how is nobody saying this? So I'm just going to say
you heard it here first on the Unidentified Celebrity.
Well, yesterday, I think that on that Church interview, Elizondo did say that, multiple things may have happened. So maybe he is alluding to that, Jane.
But that's
Well, I
what the
mean,
Tic Tac, like, we know that we're like waiting for them and they show up at military sites. So, like, almost every one of these UFO military encounters could always be debunked as something else happening. There's always something else going on, or, training exercise, or, the Phoenix Lights. There was also the flares in addition to the mothership or whatever that flew over, or whatever it was, right?
Yeah. I just have such a hard time accepting the idea of a craft crashing. I just don't think any intelligence would put that kind of hardware out there only for it to potentially crash and potentially start a war. You know what I
It just
mean?
happens so many times. There's so many. Like, I just posted about it on Texas UFOs. I know John was like, "Don't talk about old cases," but there's
Right.
this old newspaper article from April 1950. These boys in Texas and Amarillo, they see a UFO, they see it land. It's a saucer-shaped object. They go up to it, they touch it, they get burned. We don't have a photo of that saucer. We just have the newspaper clipping and the picture of the boys and the father saying that they were sunburned, like, from the experience. And there's so many from the 50s of saucers specifically, so many accounts.
But why are we getting crashes today?
I do think it's changed.
Why are we not?
I don't think it's the
why
same
are we
today.
not getting Roswells today?
So
if it happened in the 50s,
I
it should be happening today. And why has not one of them hit a major city? Like, why is not one of them crashed into a big building?
There is a case in Hungary in the 90s that, like, of files that were leaked online that I've been able to independently verify aspects of it, and I just can't find somebody from Hungary. And it was, I think it was a UFO crash with an actual gray alien being that was recovered within. So, like, when you go and you look into the archives and all the different cases and stories and things, there's so many that it's overwhelming how many people have seen UFOs land or crash or purported. Like, the problem is the evidence, like, where this stinking is the evidence. But I mean, there's how many different bases are there on, like, our own, just in Texas alone? We know for a fact that some of the Roswell debris was flown here in Texas to Wright-Patterson. No, that was Ohio. Also to can't remember the exact base. A base here in Texas, though, maybe Fort Caswell. I don't know which one. There's a lot. So is it just all in the base? Are they just? I would imagine there would be a recovery team, a crash recovery team that would be part of that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm partial. I'm partial to the alien poop theory, but I do think that the why they haven't crashed in the city. I think that the amount of area of Earth that's populated by humans and city, I think, and smaller, someone fact check me, but I think it's an absurdly low percentage of Earth's atmosphere, and most of it is ocean, right? So if there are crashes that are happening, most of them are probably happening in the ocean, and no one sees it.
Possibly.
I do think it's different today. So my other kind of theory, besides the I guess the spy balloon saucer thing, is that there was definitely a change of tactics. Like, I do feel like before the Instagram era, there were more of these physical encounters and detailed witness descriptions and even drawings, and where reporters and Project Blue Book investigated. And it doesn't seem like that's happening as much. We had, Preston Dennett was on, right? And he was talking about how he believes these experiences and abductions are still, like, our physical experiences with physical evidence. But to me, it feels like it is very much happening in this, like, astral realm, like, these days, where, that physical evidence is more scant than it used to be. I think that's why I am fascinated with the 50s and Roswell and always wanting to go back.
I get that, but I find it very odd that all of a sudden, because of Instagram, we don't get crashes anymore. Like, we had Kecksburg, We had Roswell. We've had cases in South America of these alleged crashes where even U.S. military was sent to pick these things up. Why'd they stop? Why did they stop? Why do we not, especially with as connected as we are around the world these days, how we are not, like, a crash happens? So what you're saying is that these crashes happen just as frequently, or not what you're saying, but just people out there. These crashes happen just as frequently, and the U.S. government gets every single one of them, or there's a crash retrieval that beats somebody with a cell phone, or who was close by, or who owned the property. Like, just like, imagine if the rancher in Roswell had an iPhone. It's still remote, but he still tapped the technology. Like, I just feel like it would happen today. It would happen on even a remote farm or a remote part of the world where just, I think a constituency of people might beat a recovery team to it.
I feel that I want to hear what Rather has to say about that. But yeah, I would agree. I do think it's changed. I do think the tactics have changed. I do think it's changed. Like, I don't think those crashes are happening as frequently as they did before. Like, I think the whole abduction experience, in my opinion, has changed the way they're reported and everything versus the past. So there's that. But also, what I want to say is, if this phenomenon is real, we can only look at it through the lens of a cover up. It's not like it's real and it's not being covered up. It's only right. So we only can look at it through that lens. And I would suggest that maybe a lot of the photos and videos that are out there, some that do get debunked, or they could be real. And that is what we're seeing. And like, if you go on YouTube and you search UFO, and it's like, it's so overwhelming, the amount of random videos and photos that get circulated online, and some of them can't fully be debunked, but the location's wrong and the date's wrong. So the amount of, like, just deception and confusion online as far as photos and video evidence goes, I mean, it is a jungle trying to go and investigate. So that's all. I'll be probably the more gullible one, I think, between all three of us, though. As far as,
I just think it's insanely convenient that these crashes are not happening at the veracity that they were, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. That's weird for me. But Rather, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go back to the alien poop theory. I don't think that there are necessarily crashes. I think what we think are crashes are just molten metal debris falling from the sky, and that it was a chance occurrence that it happened in front of the military back in Roswell in 1947, and that it probably is still happening, but unless you're there and
doesn't
see
explain bodies or you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a good theory for slag that's found, or sightings that were had, and then these metals that, especially because there have been reports of these things dripping. They almost look like molten metal dripping, and then you go collect that slag, and it turns out, this is a little weird. I love that idea, but it doesn't cover all of the claims in it.
You can maybe see how, if there was a really unusual event like that was seen by the military, and then had a bunch of people under, without telling them what they're doing, this, that it's something very secret, something fell from the sky. I could see how that could snowball and rumors could be created. And eventually now, 70 years later, we're with stories of bodies and, intact wreckage and stuff like that. But it's, just kind of built from that little grain of truth. But do
you think that they're the military? Do you think they're just other military that was making them? Because certainly these are not being hallucinated. I mean, the detail, like this latest one, and is so detailed. The way he describes the top of the craft being disconnected from the bottom of the craft, and these are very similar details, from saucer sighting to saucer sighting. I would say specifically from this decade of the 50s. So, I mean, was this military then? Like, something a little more controlled than just random aliens crashing, because then we're getting into kind of, well, are the Tic Tac UFOs?
Yeah, and I'll admit, I do kind of disregard. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's easy to kind of disregard stories that don't really fit your worldview. And I think that I am probably guilty of that to some degree when, I hear a lot of those stories because
but that's a natural
it's hard.
human reaction. And it takes a lot of discipline to go, oh, stop doing that, guy. Stop. You have to look at this from an unbiased perspective, and that's difficult to do. So it's something that we're trying to do
from an
every
unbiased
day.
perspective. Yeah, it's God, who knows?
Yeah, but I think it's the healthiest way to approach it. That's for sure. Dan James asked, and I think, Jane, this is a great question for you, and then we're going to get into this video because we're running short on time real quick. Dan James with $10 donation says, thank you, by the way, Dan. Do you guys have any thoughts on the 1993 interview with Einstein's former assistant, Dr. Shirley Wright, who claims they were flown to Roswell in 1947 to examine the ET craft bodies?
Video on it, Dan. You can go. I've got a whole video on it, but I wasn't able to verify. I tried really hard. I talked to the journalist who released that interview, those interview clips, and he told me how he tracked her down. He seemed legit. I think that journalist is a truth seeker and really does believe that this testimony was real and has unearthed it. But I was not able to verify it any further for what that's worth, Dan. But I would really love it if we could try to prove whether or not her testimony is real, because it would be crazy. I mean, essentially, she's saying that what Dan said, but you can listen to her audio testimony. I've featured it on my YouTube.
And by the way, Jane's link to her YouTube channel is in the description below, so go check it out. Just search that.
Yeah, you'll have to.
You just search. Yeah, I'm sure if you just use a search engine and on her page, you'll probably be able to find it really quickly. John Russell says, "Why do we assume aliens are perfect and don't make mistakes or crash?" It's a good question. I'm basing it off. Let's just say for a second that Mars had life, intelligent life, but not intelligent enough to understand that we were on Earth. Would we send a craft to that planet that has the potential to crash just to observe them? Or would we send a craft that is foolproof of not disturbing that ecosystem? I think of Star Trek. Like, Star Trek is the best example I think of when this question pops up. Like the prime directive, like there is. Why would you mess with that ecosystem? Especially if it's Earth, for example, is a tribal war planet. Like, all we want to do is kill things. And if you have a craft, let's just say instead of crashing in Roswell, New Mexico, it crashed in Times Square, New York, and killed a couple of hundred people, and then made Times Square radioactive, waste zone, we would not be very happy about that.
Well, counterpoint though, we're on the verge of being able to develop a craft that we could send to our nearest star, Proxima Centauri, and it would get there in maybe 120 years or something like that. Right. And I think it's plausible that we would go ahead and do that without, knowing for sure that there's no life there. And, with our technology, maybe our first attempt would go there and crash. And then 100 years down the line, we realize, oh, crap, we have sent this thing on the course to this planet with a civilization on it. What the hell's going to happen?
Right. Yeah. I feel that's irresponsible.
I could see us doing it, though.
No, I can see us. But there's also a difference in sending depending on the size of this thing. Let's just say it's the same size as James Webb, or in that vein, in that size range. It's not. It's a device that's there to just literally look and pass through. It's not going in their atmosphere. It's not getting close. It's not abducting their inhabitants and running experiments on them. Like, there's so many variables that I feel like can go wrong. Yeah, and if
the rabbit hole goes deep,
just the way my brain thinks, if you're that intelligent, if you're that super of an intelligence where you can traverse star systems in maybe blinks of an eye or instantly, would you put that technology in a place where you might not be able to control it, or what happens to it? It almost feels like an intergalactic national, like foreign policy issue.
Yeah, it'd be
almost
very
like the Ukraine and
irresponsible of
Russia.
them.
It would be very irresponsible. That's I guess what I'm getting at. It would be extremely, if they knew, hey, this thing gets struck by lightning in a certain atmosphere, it's going down. Like, all right, send it. We know Earth has got plenty of hurricanes and storms. Like, go for it. I don't know. That's just, I could be totally wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I could be absolutely 100% wrong on this. But anyway, let's get to this video, because I think this is one of the coolest things that has happened here in the last couple months. I mean, we're starting to get some real traction on this topic from a political aspect. And so what I'm going to share with you guys right now is a confirmation hearing for the Department of Defense Inspector General, and the nominee, his name is Robert Stort. And so this was about a 2-hour confirmation hearing. And Senator Gillibrand was there, obviously, because she's on a whole bunch of committees and subcommittees that have to do with national security. And so she gets every senator gets a certain amount of time to ask a question. And so she gets one question essentially. And so this is the question she asks. And you guys haven't seen this, right? So this will be fun for you guys to watch with us and get your reactions to. But I thought this is, again, just another wonderful moment in this discussion.
Mr. Chairman, and welcome to all our nominees. First for Mr. Storch. Mr. Storch, in your current position as NSA Inspector General, are you familiar with the DOD's IG's ongoing assessment of the response from DOD components to the intrusions of unidentified aerial phenomenon into controlled DOD airspace, as well as UAP activity around naval and air operations? Further, do you think the NSA has been responsive to the DOD's IG inquiries?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I'm afraid that's not an issue with which I am currently familiar. However, if confirmed, I certainly am willing to look into that and to take any action that's appropriate.
Well, thank you. And if confirmed, can I have your commitment to sustain this comprehensive assessment until it reaches its appropriate conclusion, including the possibility of follow-on actions such as audits or investigations if the assessment recommends as much?
Well, again, I honestly am not familiar with that particular review, but as is typical, I think, across the IG community, when a new IG comes in, if they're pending matters, those would continue in the office, and it would be perfectly appropriate to examine them. And if I am confirmed, I can assure you that anything that's pending in the office, I'll give my best attention to. And if there's appropriate follow-up to be done, we'll do it.
Okay, so since you aren't familiar, can you please familiarize yourself with this issue and respond to both of those questions in writing before your confirmation, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I love this. This was a wonderful, wonderful moment.
He starts
She really
Googling Roswell. It was Roswell real.
Here's the thing about this, and just, again, let's manage some expectations. This is a confirmation hearing. He could be lying straight through his teeth and be like, yeah, I'll look into it. But the fact that she's like, yeah, but can I get your commitment? Can I get your word that you're going to make sure that this reaches its proper conclusion in whatever investigation, whatever it finds, wherever it leads? And to get his verbal commitment to that is big, because if he does decide to pull some shenanigans later down the road, if he does get confirmed, which it usually, by the time it gets to this process, he's probably going to be the next Inspector General for the Department of Defense. But he was right. Like, any ongoing investigations that are happening by the Inspector General's office don't get shut down by the incoming Inspector General. That's not the way things work. So, what did you guys think? I'm curious. We'll start with you, rather. I can see your face. You're so excited.
Yeah. No, I thought this was amazing. What it really shows is that Kirsten Gillibrand isn't afraid to bring this topic up in just a general session that isn't ostensively about this topic. And I think that it shows that the feet will be held to the hot fire in this issue. If she's she's gunning for them. She's gonna get answers.
Well, and
yeah, awesome.
She took her only time to ask an incoming inspector general for the Department of Defense to ask about UFOs. Like, think about that for a second. That is massive, massive, because there are a billion other things from a national security perspective that she could have brought up. And politically speaking, this is what excites me the most, and then we'll get your thoughts, Shane. Politically speaking, this is a huge risk for her. Huge. Anyone in her district, especially her opponent in the next coming elections, could take this footage and say, look at what your senator's wasting her time on. Asking questions about UFOs. You know, like, this could easily be used against her, but she's not afraid of it. And I think the reason why there's no fear is just the reason why Jazz Shaw mentioned on the show. She's been in the briefings. She is sitting on the most powerful committees that have to do with national intelligence in the country. She has been briefed, I'm sure, by Christopher Mellon. I think that's obvious. Lou Elizondo for sure, but I think she's also been briefed by pilots, including Graves, Dietrich, and Fravor. I think she is privy and obviously has access to the reports. She's reading classified briefings, and so she knows. She's very confident to bring this up in this setting because she knows what she's talking about is not stupid or crazy or invalid or conspiratorial or filled with stigma. That stuff is, this is the walls of stigma crumbling right before our eyes. So just understand what this moment is, because it's special. It's really, really special. What do you got, Jane?
I agree. I think it's going to I think I'll probably process this for a bit. Because that was like not what I was expecting to see. And I agree. This woman knows something. She knows where the tide is turning. This is somebody with a very specific mission, and she's on it. And so she must yes, there's the believing the phenomenon is real, seeing evidence, but there's also knowing where the tide's turning. And she might know of obviously these two UFO offices are already out there, but maybe she knows of some other political things coming up, some other people in the government who are just as interested in this as her, who are maybe more powerful than her. So she's going to position herself to be a leader in this. Now, it might be a little bit harder to be a leader later. So, because this was super aggressive. I agree. Super aggressive, super confident. More so than I think what we've heard from her so far. Like, this is a big deal. Yeah.
I would recommend highly, if you want to see more of this, tweet, email, call her office and just say thank you. Thank you for taking the topic seriously. Just give her a huge thank you. However you want to do it. I recommend doing the same with Tim Burchett. I always mess that up. I recommend doing the same with Andre Carson. I recommend doing the same with Gallego, because that's another thing that I picked up on Elizondo's discussion last night with Jimmy Church, is not so much the senators and the congressmen, but the staff underneath them, because they're the ones who facilitate and get this message to those people. So if you've got a moment, reach out. If you just can't, just to Gillibrand at the very least, and just say thank you. If you get a staff member, if you get a response for an email, if you tweet at them, thank both, not only her staff, but thank her as well. I mean, they really, really are putting their necks on the line, and they're doing exactly what we're asking them to do, which is hold the feet to the fire. Could you imagine this woman in a public hearing?
I can now.
I can now. And if that doesn't get you stoked, I'm sorry. Check your pulse. You might be dead. Like, for real.
Yeah, this was serious. This was okay. I'm playing chess. This is a game now that I'm gonna win. Like, this was just I felt like this was a shift in the vibe.
Agreed. Yeah, I think
And good use of UAP.
I
I think she's actually giving. Everybody's like, UAP still has stigma. Nobody knows what it is. But this was what the term UAP was made for that
this
kind of
moment.
question.
For this moment, you're 100% right. It really is. So yeah, guys. I've already said a thank you through Twitter to her. I'm doing another one tonight. I recommend you guys do the same. Retweet it. Say your own thank yous. I mean, really show her that we hear her, we see her, and we are all in with what she's doing. I agree. It was a great analogy. It feels like the first move on a chessboard, and she just put her pawn into play, and she's like, all right, let's do this. And this next year is going to be insanely fascinating, but next year I think is going to be even I really do think next year is going to be insanely fun. And by the way, Lou Elizondo is going to be coming on the show the 18th of March. I gave him a whole bunch of dates, and he picked the last one I gave him. So he'll be on in a month, essentially. But we've got a month to think of some really good questions to ask him around this. I see the playbook. Obviously, we're gonna see if he'll commit to a Big Phone Home 3. I will have plans for a Big Phone Home 3 by the time he comes on the show, obviously. This lit my ass on fire. Like, this was awesome. This was like, oh my God, finally some real discussion, real traction when it comes to bringing this up on a defense level. Because I think if you can get the defense guys talking about this at a serious level, that gives permission to scientists to look at it even more. And we just don't know what there are going to be unintended blowback stuff like this happening. And we don't know what other scientists are going to pop into this conversation because of this discussion that's going on. We don't know what other organizations are going to be put together because of what's being said on Capitol Hill. So Big Phone Home 3 is definitely coming. We're definitely going to be asking for public hearings. We're going to be bothering the hell out of Elon Musk for $200 million to fund Galileo. We're going to be doing a lot of fun things. It's not going to be as crazy or as the big panels like we did in the past. This is going to be a lot more intimate, a lot more concentrated discussions. So those are the things that you can look forward to in the Big Phone Home 3. Again, I'll have a date. I'll have all of that stuff by the time Elizondo comes on the show. It's something that I'm starting to work on now. So get excited, but please do us the favor. Go say thank you to these senators and congressmen. Honestly, it goes a very long way, as you just saw. So with that, do you guys have any other thoughts on what we saw here?
I just feel like I need to familiarize myself with UAP. I mean, I felt like, wow, I need to get back. I need to get on this and to start taking this seriously. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Senator.
Right?
Yeah, great advice, Lou. These are exciting times.
They are very exciting times. They're working on this week. Anything?
Yeah, I'm about to put out a very interesting video on quantum computers and the D.O.D. And it might. I know Chris Plain usually teases the big news, but I think this might change the way you think about the Tic Tac. I'll throw that out there.
I can't wait. So please, Rather and Jane, you guys are really bad at this, but when these videos drop, you got to tag me so I can retweet and share with the world. Jane, what do you got going on this week? Are we ever going to see this interview with Jason McClellan?
I'm going to try to put my head down for this next and edit. And we'll be reviewing Predator next Thursday with Jess for Weird Hollywood.
I just watched that movie a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, there's actually, especially with the shadow people stuff, I was thinking about that when watching it. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in Predator.
Right.
So we'll be digging into that.
Guys,
not tomorrow, but next Thursday.
As I always say, Jane and Rather's links are in the description below. Go subscribe, like, share their channel. It goes a long way to making sure everybody gets shared love here. So we really appreciate all of you guys in the chat. Tina Tomaszewski, all the questions we got. Thank you for the super chats. All of you guys out there that are now members of the UCR YouTube thing. It's kind of like Patreon, but through YouTube. So if you want to be a member, you get that green mark by your name. I think there's also a couple emojis and stuff in there, you guys, that unlock the longer you're a member. So check it out. It's cool. And so, yeah, before we get out of here, of course, want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. Want to remind you guys that the show's going to be available on iTunes in about an hour, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts on the road. Please leave us a rate review. It goes a very long way. Thank you to the Patreon members out there. Thank you to future Patreon members. Again, thank you to the super chatters out there. Your dollars, honestly, are a godsend. I truly appreciate it. And for those who can't send dollars, don't worry about it. Like, share, subscribe. All of the content here is free. There's no paywall, so enjoy at your leisure. It is for everyone. Again, thank you to the moderators. Don't forget to check out the merch store and everybody's links down below. Other than that, you guys, we'll see you Friday. There's no Singularity Lab tomorrow. I just got a text from Mike. So no Singularity Lab tomorrow. He'll be back next Thursday. And then who we got on Friday? Oh, we got the UFO Brothers.
Yeah, UFO Bros.
UFO Bros. UFO Bros got to be on the show. So that'll be fun. So come hang out with us. That'll be Friday. Will be definitely a fun show. So for everyone here, thank you all so damn much for coming aboard, getting weird with us here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. Until next time, you guys, stay very safe out there. I love you all to death. Peace. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Thank you.